try to fix some things before coming back. So from where we stopped, we are going to use a color, a shade of grey, very close to black, not exact black, as a first layer, as the undertone of the beads. Now we are painting with oil paints. The first layer was our acrylic because we want it to dry fast so we can put our second layer fast. If we had used oil paint for the first layer, we would have to wait for like a whole day or 2 days before we continue or put our details properly, because if we don't allow it to dry, the colors are going to sink in. If you try to put a direct white on this gray, it's not going to come out as a bright white. That's because the paint underneath is not well dried. So that's one of the reasons why I use acrylic paint for my first layer. So let's dive into creating the realistic bits. So after this, you use a liner brush or you make one for yourself. This brush was made by trimming a full brush, something like this, but not in this size. Sorry, I've used this brush for so badly and the bristles are bad now. So a full brush, you can trim it to this level. So once you trim it to a certain level that you are satisfied with, that is slim enough to give you tiny details, then you start using it to draw realistic lines following the pattern of the beads. This is one thing you need to know. You don't just create lines, you study the beads line, and you create line accordingly. The beads are not straight because they are full beads, so we need to draw curved lines with our black oil paints. So you repeat this process all through the beads, and after creating it with black, we'll do similar process too with a lighter gray and bright white. But however, there is a different pattern that we'll be using for the lighter gray and the pure white patterns. When we are using the white, we'll be using more dots and few shapes like this. So you just have to draw it in a scribble manner. You keep scribbling, you keep scribbling till you are done with the beads. Now after I scribble, there are other ways to create extra details. But the very first thing you have to do is to scribble. And our scribble has to start with a black. Mind you, we had a first layer of oil which is grey, a grey that is very close to black, not 100% black, but something that when we paint our blacks on it, we'll be able to see the difference that what we painted initially wasn't 100% black. So the most tiring part or the most difficult part of painting details like this is the patience, because you just have to take your time to create these details all around the degrees. You keep repeating the process till you are done with the whole space. Welcome to the live stream. So we are trying to build up layers of beads. And the very first one we are doing is the black layer, because that's what is underneath. After this, we'll use several shades of gray and white, or colors that are very close to white, to create patterns too. However, for the blacks, we are using the scribble pattern for the black, just like hair strands. So after this stage, we move on to the next stage. But you have to be careful not to rush things. You have to make sure that your lines are not too bold because all of this adds to the realism of your beards. So make sure your lines are as tiny as possible. They are called, they are not straight lines because we are trying to get the scribble line for now. So you can have points where several scribbles meet up. That's um, very much possible. But however, don't make a very bold stroke like this. So I'll just try to scribble around it to make it a little bit realistic. Uh-huh. So our point is to get scribbles around and not bold lines. However, I would omit the edges of the beards for now because we have not done the oil paint layers of the skin. By the time I paint the skin with oil paint, then I can do the hairs at the edge of the beards, the ones that are closer to the skin. Everything adds up to the realism of the portrait in the head, but you just need to understand the step-by-step approach to understand. You need to understand the step-by-step approach to illustrate your details. So, the very first thing you need to do is to study the details you want to achieve and think of how you can bring it to life. So gradually you're having full beards around. It's a game of patience. It's not something that needs to be rushed. The tinier the strokes, the more realistic it is. So we're almost done with the blacks. So one thing I wanted to know is I'm really not checking my reference photos to do these details. So if you want, you can always study your reference photos to check out every stroke. But then it's always a very long journey. What I do as an artist is to study the pattern of the details and just try to duplicate them around or illustrate them. However, there are some cases where I'd want to genuinely recreate a detail, a very notable detail from the reference. So, because that can help to perfect the realism of your painting too. These are views is looking quick. And we have not started yet. So there's always something else to notice in the beards. There are areas that have contours, but there are areas that have so much blacks, which makes it off. But I just want to make sure I have all of these details first before I start noting some contours or checking spots that have to be really, really dark. So next thing I want to create areas that have depth of the black, the darker spot of the beard. We just create areas that have circles like this. They help to create certain effects on the beards, effect of depth. So to create that, also just note areas that doesn't have so much light on the beards. So yeah, the next step is to put our highlights, or should I say um, mid-tones and highlights. So we are going to have a very light gray. This- so this is my gray and this is white. So something close to white, but not literally white. So we're going to mix that color and use it all around our beds. So this time I want to create strands. To create this, you have to be careful not to press down on your brush, because if if you put pressure on the brush, you'll be having thicker lines, which is not going to make the beards realistic. So I try as much as possible not to have thick lines. I need to fix some things around my brush. Okay, first of all, make sure the paint is fluid as possible. Draw curves. Please don't draw straight lines, draw curves. Because this type of beard that I have is a full beard. Also, the type of beard and this, uh, the focus point of the light might affect where you'll be having all of these details. So you might want to study that in your reference if we are not using same reference, and you get to know where you can put all of these details. Kindly note that we have not used white. We are still using colors that are very close to the white to create extra details. So you have effects like curved lines and some dots. So now we are not doing scribble anymore because we are trying to create highlights. The best we can do is to create curves, curves, like almost a circle. The curve can go in several directions. So keep creating curves like that. curves and dots. Also, one of the things about oil color is some of these curves that I'm creating now might eventually sink in. So that's why I'm not so concerned that they are this sharp. I'll have some places where I'll have my white too to create that contrast. Also for the edges of the beads, we'll finish that when we're done with the skin. Please try as much as possible to draw curves, curves. So after this, we'll go into the bright whites. So for my reference, I realized that the highlight is more on this side. This is where the light source is coming from. So I'm trying to just create more of this here. And I'll reduce some of them here. So these are the studies you want to make with any reference you are using to paint the realistic bits. So I'm using the black again on this part so that I can intensity of the white here. It's not like we're not going to have them, but we are going to make them. One of the beauty of making realistic painting is you have to know value, you have to study value. Tonal value matters a lot. So you have to know the depth of light that is in a specific region of your reference. So now we are going into the final one, which is going to be more like minimal. We're just going to put it in strategic places, and that's what is going to make the beards pop totally, which is the white. Now you can do several layers of this that I'm doing. You can have several shades of gray and have several layers of this grays. Yes, the more layers you put, the more realistic your beard is. So for the purpose of this class, we are just trying to show the concept behind it so that you can practice and get to see how it works. So that will be all for tonight's class. By the time I paint the skin around there, we'll create more realistic strands that makes the beards more realistic. So thank you so much for joining today's live stream. I'll be back here to continue my live stream, hopefully tomorrow or next. Thanks for joining and bye for now.